This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah. We will continue the gluteal region. Yesterday, we have learned the external appearance, the superficial fascia, cutaneous nerves, deep fascia, and the three gluteal muscles and tensor and the tensor fasciae latae. Okay. Now, gluteal region contains all kinds of structures, as we have seen yesterday. It contains bones, ligaments, bursae, muscles, vessels, nerves, fat, everything. In the process, we have learned the three gluteal muscles. Of them, gluteus maximus is most important. Gluteus maximus is the largest muscle in the body. And you have seen the numerous origins of the gluteus maximus and its insertion mainly into the iliotibial tract. Okay. Please mute yourselves. Now we have also seen that the gluteus medius minimus muscles are also big enough, but they're smaller than maximus. Gluteus maximus overlaps medius partly, medius overlaps minimus completely. And now today we will learn the other muscles, the so-called small lateral rotators, 6 more muscles. Okay, they're all under cover of gluteus maximus. Not only the muscles, all the other structures like the vessels, nerves, bones, the bursae, the ligaments, etc. Everything is under cover of gluteus maximus. So gluteal region is a big region. So once you reflect the gluteus maximus, you'll find plenty of structures, the rich region. So now we'll continue the learning of the muscles. So half a dozen smaller muscles called the small lateral rotators of the thigh, of course, are deep to the gluteus maximus. They are all orientated transversely and they extend from the pelvis to the greater trochanter of the femur. So let us see them. Now, look at this picture. This is the gluteus maximus cut here, and this is the other part, cut part. And this is the gluteus medius, also cut here, and this is the minimus. Apart from the gluteae, just now we have been learning that there are 6 more muscles. They include, see this one, called piriformis. 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 It is right in the center of the gluteal region. It is referred to as the key muscle of the gluteal region. So this piriformis is the key muscle. After that, you jump a little more, a little down, you see the white color. This is the tendon of the obturator internus muscle. Obturator internus. So the first one I said is piriformis. This is obturator internus. And this is fused with 2 small muscles above and below. They are called gemellae. 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 Superior gemellus, inferior gemellus. So now we have covered 4. So piriformis, superior gemellus, obturator internus, and inferior gemellus. Now look at this one, which is somewhat rectangular shaped. This is called quadratus femoris. So we should be careful in uttering this muscle to distinguish from quadriceps in the front. So this is quadratus according to its shape. So piriformis, superior gemellus, obturator internus, inferior gemellus, quadratus femoris. Now, if you reflect the quadratus femoris, there is the last one, deep to quadratus femoris, that is called obturator externus. So that's the 6 small lateral rotators include the piriformis, the quadratus femoris, and the paired gemellae, two gemellae, and two obturators. Obturator internus here, and externus is overlapped by the quadratus femoris. Obturator externus is already encountered by you in the medial compartment. Obturator internus you have seen already in the pelvis. Now we will learn little more about these muscles. Now the piriformis is the key muscle because it is right in the center. As you're going to see, all the other structures are sort of related to that only, above or below, woven around that. That's two alukunai. So piriformis muscle. See that as the shape, as per the shape, triangular, that is by the name. It is coming from inside the pelvis. You see, it's coming from inside the pelvis. So it arises from the sacrum. So it arises from the sacrum. So let us see. So it arises from the sacrum. See, it arises from the second, third, and fourth sacral vertebrae. It arises from the sacrum. From the sacrum, it comes out through the greater sciatic notch. Later you will see that all the vessels and nerves here in the gluteal region, they are all coming from the sacrum, and the only way to come out of the sacrum is the greater sciatic foramen. Yesterday we have learned that the sciatic notches are converted into foramina by the ligaments, sacrotuberous and sacrospinous. Now coming back to piriformis, the piriformis muscle arising from S234 vertebrae inside on the ventral aspect of pelvic aspect of the sacrum, and from there the muscle comes out of the pelvis through the greater sciatic foramen. So thus the piriformis greatly fills the greater sciatic foramen. As you can see in the picture, the previous as well as this one, so it becomes a narrow tendon. So here you can make out the greater sciatic foramen with the help of these two ligaments, sacrotuberous ligament, sacrospinous ligament. So this is the greater sciatic foramen, this is the lesser sciatic foramen. So coming out of the greater sciatic foramen, the piriformis becomes a narrow tendon and is going towards the greater trochanter. As I said earlier, all the six small lateral rotators, are inserted to greater trochanter of femur. So piriformis is the one. So that is the one which is attached to right to the top of the greater trochanter. Nerve supply, it gets nerve supply directly from ventral rami of S12. So can be said as branches of the sacral plexus. Now, as you can see, its orientation, it is slightly oblique but transversely orientated, and it is behind the hip joint. All these are behind the hip joint. They are going from pelvis to the femur. Naturally, they pull the femur posteromedially, which results in lateral rotation. So that is the action of piriformis. Piriformis is famous here because it is in the center. All other structures are related to that. So piriformis, key muscle. So let us see what structures are related. Now, before the relations, let us learn about the other muscles. Meanwhile, so we have completed the piriformis now. Now let's go to other muscles. Obturator internus and gemellae. I told you already, the obturator internus is in the center and gemellae are above and below. And as they go towards insertion, they are all fused. The obturator internus in the center is fused with the superior gemellus and inferior gemellus. Anyway, now let us learn the obturator internus first. Obturator internus is a reasonably big muscle. It arises from the lateral wall of the pelvis, as you can see here. It is seen, its origin is seen, it was seen already by you in the pelvis. So, and its tendon its tendon comes out through the lesser sciatic foramen. So this is the greater sciatic foramen through which piriformis comes out. And this is the lesser sciatic foramen, which is greatly filled by the tendon of the obturator internus muscle. So obturator internus comes out of the pelvis through the lesser sciatic foramen. So in the next picture, see that ligament is removed, sacrotuberal segment is removed. So you can see directly. So obturator internus, inner surface of the obturator membrane, and also the adjacent bone. So that means this is the origin here in the lateral wall of the pelvis. And from here, the muscle comes out through the lesser sciatic foramen here. But in this picture, it is only notch because there is no ligament. Sacrotuberal segment is seen. So you can see the entire muscle. The muscle takes a right angle turn and the obturator tendons comes out. As it comes out, it is joined by the two gemellae, like bodyguards. You can see two gemellae, superior gemellus, inferior gemellus. So the gemellae feeds with it also. But still, we can separate obturator internus. So all the three, obturator internus and the two gemellae, they're all going towards the greater trochanter of femur. Now, so you can see the tendon comes out of the pelvis through the lesser sciatic foramen. Now, insertion upper border of the greater trochanter along with gemellae, they are all inserted together to the greater trochanter's upper border. Now, nerve supply is again directly from the sacral plexus. The nerve is called nerve to obturator internus. Nerve to obturator internus is somewhat a famous nerve. Please note that it also supplies the superior gemellus. We'll see later. It also supplies the superior gemellus. Again, as per the orientation, transversely orientated behind the hip joint. So this is also lateral rotator of the thigh. So that is about the obturator internus muscle. Slightly confusing muscle because you cannot see it. You cannot see the whole muscle in a single opportunity. You have to wait for. Now gemellae, they're quite easy to learn because they're seen easily directly in the gluteal region. As I told you, they flank the tendon of the obturator internus as the tendon of obturator internus comes out of the pelvis through the lesser sciatic foramen. So the gemellae accompany the tendon of the obturator internus from the lesser sciatic notch onwards. So two gemellae, singular is gemellus, plural is gemellae. So superior gemellus, let us say. Superior from the ischial spine. So this is ischial spine here, ischial spine. From the ischial spine, superior gemellus. Now, the inferior gemellus is from part of the ischial tuberosity. So from the ischial spine, superior gemellus. From the tuberosity, inferior gemellus. Okay. As I told you earlier, they fuse with the obturator internus and inserted together to the upper border of the greater trochanter, along with the obturator internus. Now, nerve supply, I told you already, the superior gemellus is supplied by nerve to obturator internus. So, at this point, you must remember specially. Nerve to obturator internus supplying nerve to obturator internus is no news. Supplying something else is a news. So, nerve to obturator internus also supplies the superior gemellus. Likewise, the inferior gemellus is supplied by nerve to quadratus femoris. So there is a separate nerve, again a branch of the sacral plexus from the pelvis. That is the nerve to quadratus femoris. That supplies the inferior gemellus in addition to the quadratus femoris. Again, as per the orientation, they're all lateral rotators of the thigh. So that is about the gemellae. Gemellae. Now, this is a beautiful picture again. You can see piriformis here, the superior gemellus, the obturator internus, the inferior gemellus, like that. Okay. Again, same picture, you can see the piriformis. Now we will learn the fifth muscle, fifth small lateral rotator, quadratus femoris muscle, this one. As you can see, it is a quadrangular muscle. It is crossed by the sciatic nerve here in this picture. It is a quadrangular muscle, quadratus femoris, not quadriceps, be careful, quadratus femoris. As you can see in the picture, it just extends from the ischial tuberosity to the greater trochanter. So origin, lateral border of the ischial tuberosity, lateral border of the ischial tuberosity, here, here, or here inside. Now insertion to the greater trochanter, okay, but precisely speaking, it is inserted to a special elevation, which is named after the muscle. That elevation is called quadrate tubercle. Quadrate tubercle is a special elevation seen on the intertrochanteric crest. Now look at this picture. This is the greater trochanter. This is the lesser trochanter. Connecting them anteriorly is intertrochanteric line, but posteriorly there is an appreciable ridge here. This is called intertrochanteric crest. On the crest, look at this elevation. This elevation. This is the quadrate tubercle. Quadrate tubercle. Quadrate tubercle, that is the insertion of the quadratus femoris muscle. Nerve supply, again, a direct branch from the sacral plexus. It is called nerve to quadratus femoris. As I told you a little while ago, it also supplies the inferior gemellus. Action is common for all these things. Lateral rotation, the thigh. So that is about the quadratus femoris. Important point to remember is it overlaps the last lateral rotator, obturator externus. So let us see some picture. Now here you see, look at that. This is the quadratus femoris muscle here and here. Now here it is cut to expose the last muscle inside, called the obturator externus muscle, this one, obturator externus. As I told you, it was seen already in the medial compartment. So now this is the obturator externus. Now we will learn this is the last of the 6 small lateral rotators. Obturator externus arises from the outer aspect, as the name implies. Internus from the inner aspect of the pelvis. This is from the outer aspect of the pelvis. Both muscles, they arise from the obturator membrane, and the membrane is the sandwich between obturator internus and externus. So this arises from the outer aspect of the obturator membrane. So here, this is the outer aspect of the obturator foramen. Look at the pink color. Take it as obturator membrane. From the inner aspect of the membrane, obturator internus. Now this is the outer aspect. So this is the middle compartment region where you can see the obturator externus muscle orientated somewhat obliquely transversely. So arising from outer aspect of the obturator membrane as well as the bone around that. So from the outer aspect of obturator membrane and the bone around that. And more important is how the tendon passes is quite confusing. Look at that. The tendon passes superolaterally. Look at that. The tendon passes superolaterally behind the neck of the femur. The dotted line shows behind. So it arises in front, but it is passing behind the neck. So thus it slightly spirals or winds around the neck, you can say. Winding around, just spiraling the neck. So it passes, the tendon passes superolaterally. Look at the muzzle, it's quite confusing actually. So the fibers pass inferiorlaterally to begin with, and then superolaterally behind the neck of the femur. Behind the neck of the femur. To get inserted to greater trochanter again. But again, on the greater trochanter, if we see carefully, there is a depression here, what is called trochanteric fossa. Trochanteric fossa. Trochanteric fossa. That is the insertion of the obturator externus muscle. Look at that. Firstly, you must know it is overlapped by the quadratus femoris. So unless you cut the quadratus femoris, we cannot see it from behind. Thus, of all muscles, the gluteus minimus and the obturator externus are the ones, which are the deepest here. Gluteus minimus is exposed only when we remove the gluteus medius. Likewise, obturator externus is exposed only when we reflect the quadratus femoris. All others are seen once we reflect the gluteus maximus. Now coming back to obturator externus, as I told you just now, it arises from the outer aspect of the obturator membrane and the bone around that. As I showed you in the picture, the tendon passes superolaterally behind the neck. That's an important point to understand. Pass behind the neck of the femur superolaterally. And is inserted to the trochanteric fossa of the femur. Where is it located? Here. See that trochanteric fossa here, just medial to the trochanteric fossa. That is insertion. This is the quadratubercle insertion of the quadratus femoris, which is more posterior. Trochanteric fossa is slightly anterior, and that is the insertion of the obturator externus, which is overlapped by the quadratus femoris. Like that, you have to correlate. Now, the supplied by the obturator nerve. Now, the nerve supply you have seen from the obturator nerve in the medial compartment. As the obturator nerve comes out, the posterior division of obturator nerve passes through the obturator externus, and that is the nerve supply. Posterior division of the obturator nerve. So, most important about this muscle is understanding its orientation. So, origin, the broader part is seen in the middle compartment. Insertion is seen much later in the gluteal region. So again, insertion here. Only this is the part which is after winding around the neck of the femur. This part tendon going towards the trochanteric fossa. Trochanteric fossa. Now, so far we have learnt many muscles in the gluteal region. The 3 gluteae mainly, and then half a dozen lateral rotators. And of the gluteae, you must have a clear-cut orientation. Gluteus maximus is seen anyway fully well outside. Gluteus medius is partly overlapped by that. Gluteus minimus is again overlapped by gluteus medius. And thus, deep to gluteus maximus at the first level, once you reflect gluteus maximus, which muscles are seen? Gluteus medius, from above downwards, gluteus medius, piriformis, superior gemellus, obturator internus, inferior gemellus, and quadratus femoris. At the second level, deepest are gluteus minimus, which is seen only deep to gluteus medius. And likewise, obturator externus, seen only after cutting the quadratus femoris. So these are the muscles deep to gluteus maximus. So apart from them, gluteus maximus also overlaps a common origin of the hamstrings. The muscles on the back of the thigh are called hamstrings. They all have a common origin from ischial tuberosity. Look at that. Now this is the ischial tuberosity here, and look at the muscles here. All these muscles are called hamstrings. Now they all arise from ischial tuberosity, and look at the gluteus maximus muscle. If you imagine its margin, gluteus maximus margin, like this, with insertion up to here, if you imagine, you will agree that the origin of the hamstrings is also overlapped. Though not fully, only slightly, but certainly the hamstrings origin is also overlapped by gluteus maximus. Why I'm saying so is, when you list out the structures under cover of gluteus maximus, you must also include the origin of the hamstrings. What are hamstrings now? Hamstrings are 4 in number. Now, this is, you see in the background here and here also, this and this one, everything is adductor magnus. You have seen adductor magnus already in the middle compartment. It has a pubic part and ischial part. So this is the ischial part. This is the ischial part which is seen here, and here it is a background here. And here this is the common origin of, this is the long head of biceps, and along with that is the semitendinosus. And just behind that is the semimembranosus. So these are the 4 hamstrings. So I repeat, adductor magnus, this one, this all here also, adductor magnus, and then the background semimembranosus, and then semitendinosus and the long head of biceps arising together. So adductor magnus, semimembranosus, semitendinosus, long head of biceps. Their origin from the scale tuberosity is also overlapped by the gluteus maximus. And that is how I completed the muscles under cover of gluteus maximus. Now we'll pass on to the vessels and nerves under cover of gluteus maximus. There are also plenty. We must know all the arteries are the branches of internal iliac artery in the pelvis. Likewise, all the nerves, they're all branches of the sacral plexus in the pelvis. And the only way to come out is greater sciatic foramen. All the vessels and nerves here are supplied from the pelvis, which emerge from the pelvis through the greater sciatic foramen. We know that greater sciatic foramen is already occupied by the piriformis. So the vessels and nerves naturally will have to compromise with the piriformis. So either they come out either above the piriformis or below the piriformis. So let us have a schematic picture. Look at that. Now, this is the greater sciatic foramen through which all vessels and nerves they have to come out along with the piriformis. And when they come out either above the piriformis, as you can see, this is the piriformis. So some vessels and nerves come above the piriformis, and the majority of them come below the piriformis. Let us list out now what are they. So that is why you say piriformis is an important landmark, key muscle, like the hyoglossus muscle. Now, above the piriformis, see, above the piriformis, these vessels and nerves, these are the ones which are called superior gluteal vessels and nerve. Superior gluteal artery is a branch of the posterior division of the internal iliac artery. Now, so above the piriformis, superior gluteal vessels and nerve. Now, below the piriformis, there is a big list, because as you can see, below the piriformis, there are many structures, big list. So we will go through them slowly. Inferior gluteal vessels and nerve. So these arteries that you see here is called inferior gluteal artery. And along with that same name nerve. I told you already, the inferior gluteal nerve supplies gluteus maximus only. And of course, the most important, the striking largest nerve in the body, sciatic nerve. And then just middle to sciatic nerve, important nerve called posterior cutaneous nerve of the thigh. Posterior cutaneous nerve of the thigh. This one. And then this one, I'll show it better picture later. Pudendal nerve to supply the perineum. That also comes out. And along with that, internal pudendal vessels also come out. And then, as I told you already, nerve to obturator internus and nerve to quadratus femoris. They all come out through the greater sciatic foramen below the piriformis. So look at that arrow, inferior gluteal vessels and nerve. And sciatic nerve, the thickest nerve in the body, largest nerve in the body. And then posterior cutaneous nerve of the thigh. And then nerve to obturator internus. It's difficult to identify it in this picture. I'll show a better picture. Likewise, the picture. Now, here again. Now, here, this picture shows some of the structures which enter the lesser sciatic foramen. So far, we have learned all the vessels and nerves come out of the pelvis through the greater sciatic foramen, all right, either above or below the piriformis. But a few structures now, after coming out of the greater sciatic foramen, they re-enter the lesser sciatic foramen. So what are structures which re-enter lesser sciatic foramen? Pudendal nerve and internal pudendal vessels. And also the nerve to obturator internus. And we have already learned structures passing through the lesser sciatic foramen cheppinappudu, tendon of the obturator internus also. But structures coming out of the greater sciatic foramen and entering the lesser sciatic foramen means pudendal nerve, internal pudendal vessels, and nerve to obturator internus. These three are famously known as pin structures. Pin pin structures. That P ante pudendal nerve, I ante interpudendal vessels, N ante nerve to obturator tendons. I'll show a better picture. So these are structures now. Nerves first. We'll focus on the nerves. So the largest is sciatic. We will learn that first. You know, superior gluteal is the only one which is above the piriformis. All others are below. So let us learn the sciatic first. Sciatic nerve. Sciatic nerve is the thickest nerve in the body. That is a very important point. As thick as your little finger. As thick as our little finger. So that is sciatic nerve. So anyway, it's all are branches of sacral plexus only, but sciatic nerve, you know, it has two main components called tibial and common peroneal. So in this picture, diagrammatic picture, this red color is the tibial component, this is the common peroneal component. They're shown separately, but they're together actually. So they are, this is the origin you can see from the sacral plexus, root valleys, etc. are all given. You can see that. So tibial nerve arises from the ventral divisions of all components of sacral plexus. All you can make out from L4-5 and S1-2-3. Whereas common peroneal arises from the upper four only. Now course. So as it emerges through the great sciatic foramen below the piriformis, it passes down. When it passes down, it crosses all the muscles which you have learnt earlier, like the gemelli, the obturator internus, the quadratus femoris, the ultra magnus, like that. So they're all crossed by the sciatic nerve. Now, what does the sciatic nerve do? Before that, we can see relations. Posterior nerve of the thigh, which is actually, though it is said as posterior, it is more medial. And anyway, posterior relation is gluteus maximus. Only when you reflect it, you can see the nerve. So, and as you see later, you'll see later, but as it goes to the descends to the back of the thigh, it is crossed by long head of biceps. It is the long head of biceps which crosses the sciatic nerve. So that's long head of biceps and gluteus maximus are the important posterior relations. Now, branches. Thanks to sciatic nerve, it has no branches in the gluteal region. Though it is thickest nerve, it has no branches in the gluteal region. But later, then we will see. So schematic picture. A little below the middle of the thigh, it terminates by dividing into tibial and common peroneal nerves. So far, we are using the terminology of components. As sciatic nerve, it has tibial component and common peroneal component. But as it terminates, it divides into common peroneal and tibial nerves. Now, this is a beautiful picture from Gray's Anatomy showing almost the entire course of sciatic nerve. See that coming out of the great sciatic foramen below piriformis, crossing the gemelli and the other muscles. And in the back of the thigh, of course, it supplies the hamstrings. In the gluteal region, we said that there were no branches, but in the back of thigh, it supplies the hamstrings. And approximately at the junction of middle 1/3 and lower 1/3 of the thigh, approximately at the junction of the middle 1/3 and lower 1/3 of the thigh, it terminates by dividing into what looks like continuation, the bigger one, tibial nerve. And then what passes inferolaterally is the common peroneal. So common peroneal and tibial are the terminal branches of the sciatic nerve. So I repeat, sciatic thickest nerve in the body, which has tibial and common peroneal components, comes out of great sciatic foramen and below the piriformis, crosses the muscles, and no branches in the gluteal region. The back of thigh, it supplies the hamstrings, and at the junction of the middle 1/3 and the lower 1/3 approximately, it terminates by dividing into the tibial nerve, which looks like a continuation right in the midline, and what inclines inferolaterally is the other terminal branch, common peroneal nerve. Okay, that is about the sciatic nerve. You must have heard about sciatica. When it's compressed, you know, we get the pain sciatica. Now let us learn other nerves which are smaller. Notable among them is the posterior cutaneous nerve of the thigh. This is already seen by us in the previous pictures also. Always seen medial to the sciatic nerve. See that? Look at the medial to sciatic nerve. Medial to sciatic nerve. So in this picture, you can see in a better manner. So this is the posterior cutaneous nerve of the thigh. So this is the one which supplies the skin of the back of thigh. This is the main nerve. Okay. Now look at that. Of course, it is also a branch of sacral plexus. That also comes out through the great sciatic foramen below piriformis. It descends on the same muscles as the sciatic nerve. And it goes all the way up to popliteal fossa. Popliteal fossa is a depression behind the knee joint. Popliteal fossa behind the knee joint is comparable to cubital fossa of the upper limb. So the posterior nerve of thigh descends deep to deep fascia, deep to fascia lata, all the way up to popliteal fossa. But what does it do in the gluteal region? That's what is necessary for us. In the gluteal region, it gives a few branches which recur back on the gluteus maximus. This I said yesterday. See, some of the branches now, they recur and they supply the skin over the gluteus maximus in the lower part. So these are the gluteal branches. One branch passes medially to the perineum. That is called perineal branch, which is said better here. Sorry. So this is the one, perineal branch. This one goes towards the urogenital triangle, perineal branch. So what are the branches of the posterior nerve of thigh? Gluteal branches to the skin of the gluteal region, lower part, and then perineal branch. This is the perineal branch. Okay, perineal branch. So that is about the branches of the, and finally, it comes out of the fascia lata in the popliteal fossa and supplies the skin there and terminates there. That is about the posterior cutaneous nerve of the thigh. Next nerve, superior gluteal nerve. So this is schematic picture here. You can make out this is the piriformis here. So this is the greater sciatic foramen, and this is the lesser. Everything greater sciatic foramen only. This is above piriformis. This is below piriformis. So superior gluteal above the piriformis, inferior gluteal below the piriformis. So superior gluteal, you can see the origin L45S1. Now it comes out of the greater sciatic foramen above the piriformis. So let us see a good picture. So you can see it is above the piriformis. This one. This is a much better picture from Cunningham's manual. So this is the superior gluteal nerve. Now superior gluteal nerve divides into two branches, as you can see. The two branches run between gluteus medius, cut here. You see, medius is cut between the gluteus medius and the minimus. So that the superior gluteal nerve, two branches run between gluteus medius and minimus. Let us see the picture between gluteus medius. See, look at that. So medius is seen here between medius and minimus, the two divisions of the superior gluteal nerve. Now superior gluteal nerve supplies three muscles. What are they? Gluteus medius, gluteus minimus, and finally tensor fasciae latae. Tensor fasciae latae. So it supplies these two muscles, okay, but then the lower division continues to the tensor fasciae latae. So three muscles supplied by the superior gluteal nerve. That is all about the superior gluteal nerve. Okay. Now let us learn. So again, superior gluteal nerve is seen very well here between gluteus medius and minimus. Now let us learn this one, inferior gluteal nerve. Branch from sacral plexus again through great sciatic foramen below piriformis. So it's easy to remember. It just supplies gluteus maximus only, nothing else. Nothing else. It just supplies gluteus maximus only. So the inferior gluteal nerve, which is labeled here, is dedicated to the gluteus maximus. That is about the inferior gluteal nerve. Now let us learn next nerve, what is called the nerve to quadratus femoris. Now this picture is not good enough. But just see the theory here. Again, a branch of sacral plexus comes out of the great sciatic foramen below piriformis. It supplies quadratus femoris, as the name implies, and also it also applies the inferior gemellus. Inferior gemellus. Now this picture, see this picture. Now look at this one which I'm showing. This one I'm showing with the arrow. This is the nerve to quadratus femoris. It is actually overlapped by sciatic nerve. In this picture, it is shown medially, but it is generally overlapped by sciatic nerve. And the nerve passes deep to the two gemelli, obturator internus. You see, it's coming here all the way down. And finally, it terminates in the quadratus femoris. Before that, it supplies inferior gemellus also. So this is the nerve to quadratus femoris. Nerve to quadratus femoris. Now we will learn some important nerves, pudendal nerve and nerve to obturator internus. As already learned, they also come out of the pelvis through the great sciatic foramen. They are also branches of the sacral plexus, great sciatic foramen, below piriformis, and the common points here. I think here they re-enter the pelvis through the left sciatic foramen. Look at this picture. This is a beautiful picture from Cunningham's manual. Look at that. This is the pudendal nerve. See? Pudendal nerve. And this is the nerve to obturator internus. This is the nerve to quadratus femoris I showed you already. Just middle to that is the nerve to obturator internus. Look at that. Nerve to obturator internus supplying superior gemellus. After supplying superior gemellus, the main nerve to obturator internus and the pudendal nerve. Between them is the internal pudendal artery. All the three అలా గ్రేటర్ సైటిక్ ఫోరామిన్ బయటకు వచ్చేసి వెంటనే ఆ లెస్సర్ సైటిక్ ఫోరామిన్లో దూరిపోతున్నాయి. So they quickly enter lesser sciatic foramen. In the process, they cross the ischial spine and the sacrospinous ligament. So these three are famously known as pin structures. P ante pudendal nerve, I ante interpudendal vessels, artery or vessels. Nerve ante N ante nerve to obturator internus. Pin structures, famous pin structures, PIN structures. So this picture also shows it nicely. So always medially and bigger one is pudendal nerve, interpudendal artery, and then nerve to obturator internus. Coming out here through the great sciatic foramen, below piriformis, and then re-entering the sciatic foramen. What do they do after entering the sciatic foramen? Nerve to obturator internus service supplies obturator internus. The pudendal nerve and the interpudendal vessels now, they are the main source of supply to the structures in the perineum. So they are going towards perineum. From here, they continue in the scapular fossa lateral wall, the pudendal canal, and then they supply the scapular fossa and urogenital region as well. So that is about the pin structures, famous structures. Pudendal nerve, nerve to obturator internus, and the interpudendal vessels. Now that is about the nerves. Now arteries finally. Arteries are already known by as superior gluteal, inferior gluteal, coming above and below the piriformis. Here they supply all muscles around, nothing special. Okay, and we can also see the arteries coming from femoral artery. You see, this is the quadratus femoris muscle, which is cut, and below the adductor magnus. Between these two muscles, we can see branches of the femoral artery, LCF and MCF, lateral circumflex femoral and medial circumflex femoral arteries. Okay, sorry, here the S is missing. And we can also see the first perforating artery here, the first perforating artery. These are the circumflex femoral arteries, and this is the first perforating artery. Now, what is the importance of all these arteries? They form some important anastomosis here. They supply the muscles around, all right, but they form some important anastomosis, namely trochanteric and cruciate anastomosis. So look at that. Superior gluteal artery above piriformis, inferior gluteal here. Now here some branches from the gluteal arteries, you see, from the inferior gluteal, from the superior gluteal, as well as from the circumflex femoral arteries. So some arteries anastomose around the trochanter, and this is called trochanteric anastomosis. Trochanteric anastomosis. Now let us see how it is formed. So trochanteric anastomosis is concerned with the supply to the femur, head and neck. Now, this is a way by which internal iliac and femoral arteries can communicate with each other. How gluteal arteries are branches of the internal iliac, and then circumflex arteries are branches of the femoral artery. And when branches from them anastomose with each other, this can be interpreted as anastomosis between internal iliac and femoral arteries. So the anastomosis is difficult to appreciate in the specimen. It lies near the trochanteric fossa. How is it formed? It is formed by branches of the superior inferior gluteal arteries and branches of the circumflex femoral artery. So this is a beautiful picture of the same trochanteric anastomosis. Now, much more important for you from the exam point of view is what's called cruciate anastomosis. Cruciate ante cross anamata, cross ante shape of a plus ante four arteries ravali, above, below, medial, lateral. So we must know the cruciate anastomosis. First thing to learn about cruciate anastomosis is its address. It lies between quadratus femoris and aorta magnus. పిక్చర్ లో మళ్ళీ ఇంకో పిక్చర్ చూద్దాం, బెటర్ పిక్చర్. చూడండి, ఇక్కడ ఇదేమో aorta magnus, ఇది ఇక్కడేమో quadratus femoris కట్ అయింది కదా, quadratus femoris. ఈ రెండు మధ్యలో ఉంటుంది అనమాట anastomosis. So that is the cruciate anastomosis. How is it formed? As I told you, it's plus shaped. So we expect branches from above, from below, medially, laterally. From above, descending branch of the inferior gluteal artery from above. Now, from medially, laterally, transverse branches of the circumflex femoral arteries. And from below, this is the first perforating artery, and from here, one ascending branch. So from below, ascending branch of the first perforating artery, from above, one branch of the inferior gluteal artery, and medial laterally, transverse branches of the circumflex femoral arteries. And when the anastomosis between quadratus femoris and aorta magnus, this is called cruciate anastomosis. This is an important question from the exam point of view. So this is the location, cruciate anastomosis. Now let us see. Now, buttock is a famous region to give injections, particularly if the injection is painful, like iron injections, okay, like Imferon. Now, where do you give? You will not choose the arm, you choose the buttock, where we have plenty of muscle mass. But in the buttock again, we have plenty of nerves and vessels. So you have to be very careful about where to give. So look at that. Intramuscular injection enables, of course, a large amount of a drug to be introduced at once and absorbed quickly. But then where to give is the important point. So look at that. Upper lateral quadrant is the part which is chosen. That is most important. Upper lateral quadrant. Because if you go medially, medial గా ఇక్కడికి వెళ్ళిపోతే ఇక్కడంతా కూడా బోల్డ్ నర్వ్స్ ఉన్నాయి, sciatic, other nerves. To avoid these structures, you must give injection in the upper lateral quadrant, which is a safer zone. This is a very important point. Upper lateral quadrant. Now, a little bit of applied anatomy before concluding. I said this already yesterday. Trendelenburg's test to test the integrity of the gluteus medius and minimus, mainly medius. So in the normal position, this one, but this I said already. In the normal position, if you lift the foot, the pelvis does not stoop, the pelvis does not tilt. That is normal. That is said to be negative test. Whereas if it tilts, then it is a positive test. This is something which I said in detail yesterday. So why the test is positive? That means, no, if the test is positive, that means the gluteus medius and minimus are at fault. What can be the reasons? Any fracture neck of the femur, or dislocation of the hip joint, coxa, etc., or some due to neurological damage. Also, the Trendelenburg test can be positive. Well, that is all. Thank you and good luck. Now, if you have doubts, please call me now. Please unmute yourselves. You can call me if you have any doubts.